Okay, so anyone have anything they'd like to share this morning? Ask any questions, or make have anything they'd like to comment on?
I appreciated the direction to just feel the happy space. I hadn't really thought about it that way before with the dantian, but felt sort of like champagne bubbles, and like the dantian, just when I tuned into it, sort of became the source of those bubbles, and it was really enjoyable. I wanted to stay in that space for a long time, and before doing the rest of the breathing sequence. And I felt like when we were doing the form, I had this sensation, sort of like the dantian was this spinning cymbal, and it felt like the rest of my body could relax because the dantian was like setting the direction, or it was I don't know how to explain it. Like it was the driver, and like my arms and my legs and everything could just follow and sort of trust that. I hadn't had quite that sensation before, where it was just it's sort of like what I've had that sensation being moved, like when leading the form, or if I'm like just following the flow of the energy. But this felt like it was sort of located in my dantian, and the rest of my body could relax around that. So that was very pleasurable. Thank you, Master Kim. Appreciate you leading us through this.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's like really how we understand happiness, right? And it's what the Taoists found is just that when you kind of left alone, if you will, it's kind of like, and we don't think of this, but it's kind of like when your body is in a natural just state where it's just free, and it doesn't have the external stresses. How do you feel? And it defines that as your authentic state, that place where when you don't have any stress and you're just feeling free, where you're relaxed, where you don't have anything external going on. That's defined as the natural state. And when you feel into it, it's true. If you imagine a space where there's no stress going on, and there's nothing stressful in your life, and you're in a spacious place, just a spacious place with sunlight, and you kind of look into how you would feel in that space, what you find out is that you're just naturally happy. Just kind of like you don't need anything, you're just naturally happy in that space. And we typically look for happiness by trying to do something, by trying to do something external that gets us excited. But actually what we don't realize is that when we are distracted, if you forget our stress, and then we relax without realizing that we're relaxing, and then we experience our natural state. And I think what's sad is that as we become older, those moments become less and less, because our life becomes about more and more about responsibilities. And responsibility is a very important thing. I mean, and responsibility runs the world. And so I want to make sure that what I'm saying is not taken as, oh, we should be responsible. Responsibility is what gives us meaning. It's like, to be a parent, for instance, is considered to be one of the most important things in life. And but it's also one of the toughest things in life. And it requires, it gives you the most meaning. It's kind of interesting. They did a study of married couples, and what they found is that actually married couples who, surprisingly, married couples who didn't have kids actually were happier in terms of their happiness level in the relationship. Having kids actually added quite a bit of stress to the relationship. But the other thing they found is that people who had kids also, the sense of meaning factor was higher. And then the kind of happiness actually returned after the kids, grew up. And then, so it's like really interesting to kind of just look at these different factors, right? And so definitely not saying we should be responsible or that responsibility is not important, but we understand that when we're just left in a spacious state, our natural state is happy. And just to understand that our natural state is happy, and that it's the control that we bring into all the things that we're trying to make go right that's bringing us stress, I think it's a very important thing to realize that that's our true self. Because we don't relate to ourselves, we don't relate to our true self as that relaxed, happy state, that natural state. We don't realize that it requires nothing to do happiness. And it's kind of interesting, when you're in a happier space, you started noticing your heart chakra, your dantian, or your middle dantian, which is the heart chakra, and your lower dantian. You start noticing your dantians. And that's actually what happens. When your body frees up and the energy starts flowing freely, you start noticing your dantians. And the reason we don't notice a dantian, I could say, is because of control and tension. It's actually one of the reasons why I always say, like, you can't get there by trying to control. It's very limited in terms of how you can get there by trying to control, because the very thing that you're trying to experience comes from non-control. If anything, it's like the happiness that comes from, like, when we're doing art, because it's all play. It's a thing that comes from when you're doing play, whatever you genuinely enjoy that makes you relax. So like dancing, drawing, or typically art has that profound impact. Beauty, anything that brings beauty of movement, beauty of things that are visually beautiful. I mean, just so anyway, so I feel like you just found that space today. And actually, I'd like to say, like, it's the only way to really find that natural state, that place that we're all looking for, to be authentic, to be really ourselves, to actually have cultivation, to be more energized, to feel happier. And it's a study of how to dial into that natural space more and more, where, and that's like kind of like the kingdom of heaven, right? So how to be in that kingdom of heaven, that space where you actually bring your mind space into a space where naturally you're relating to, from a place of the letting go and that place of spaciousness, your natural state, you're relating from the natural state to everything, versus from a control state where even responsibility, you can approach it from that natural space of authenticity and joy. And it changes everything.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Yeah, I can feel, I could feel sort of going into that state. I had the image of like a big Buddha laughing and just the ridiculousness of everything. And I could feel these tendrils in my brain of like, but I'm not going to figure things out. If I just go into that sort of madness, just like the elation and the like the happy madness, I guess. But yeah, it feels like it's really the opposite. Like everything gets worked out from that place, and the desire to figure things out or like make things right or whatever to get there is just gonna like postpone it indefinitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, I like the way you use the word ridiculousness. The ridiculousness actually is not that, the care that we give and how, like, how much importance we give to our problem. Actually, that itself, I want to say it's not ridiculous because the problems are real, right? And I liked how you said care. And I think this is actually where being in your authentic state brings you to a natural state of compassion. And so I think that, like, it's difficult for people to understand because people live in this place for so not often. And so people, I think, try and not care. And I liked how you talked about the compassion because actually when you're in this authentic place, you care very deeply, but you care very deeply from a happy place and from a loving place. So there's no stress because when you're feeling love and you're feeling happiness and or joy or interest or things like that, then you don't have control. You approach it with curiosity and you approach it with a certain openness where your body is open. You're not guarded, or it's not so it's not so it's not so much forcing and control to make it happen because we're afraid it's not going to happen. Actually, there's this natural belief and faith that somehow it's going to happen. And so because you're approaching it from that open state, things flow and you're more productive, actually, ironically, because of that. And you care more deeply because you can. Because you care more deeply, I've never seen, in some ways, an artist who didn't care deeply about what they did. They just deeply, but they didn't care about the outcome. So if you listen to the people who say, "Oh, I don't care," they're actually not saying that they don't care about what they're doing. They're saying, "I don't care about the outcome. I just do it. Just follow my whim, or I just follow whatever it is that floats their boat. They follow that. That's the priority." And so they care very deeply. And so they care so deeply about what they care that they actually don't care about the outcome. And so not caring about the outcome can only happen when there's deep love. It's like a parent, that parents all wish for their kids to, turn out a certain way, which is well. But really, actually, at the end of the day, a parent's, uh, fundamental wish is for their kids to turn out well. And if you look at controlling parents, it's not that they love any less. It's that actually they're just afraid. They're just so afraid that their kids are not going to have a good life, that they control their kids as if their life depended on it. And and so it's kind of like, it's like, love and fear have a close correlation, right? And so, and the same thing with whatever it is we do, we care so much we stifle it. But the more love we feel, that space of that love that we feel allows us to let go, ironically. And that's why the scriptures say love conquers, all fear.
Oh, that's really helpful. Yeah, like I mean, obviously control comes from fear, but hearing the scripture in that way, love casts out all control, it's it feels more concrete to me somehow.
Yeah, fear, control, same thing. It's like we only try and control things when we're afraid. Like in love, there's letting go, because there's no fear. And so that's why, like, when people say, "Oh, you gotta let go, you can't, you can't care so much," and that's you're asking the person to do something impossible. It's kind of like asking a parent to not care about their kids. The only way you can actually convince a parent to let go is to let go because they understand that if they really care about the kids, the only way for them to be healthy and turn out well is to let go of their control so that they can become full healthy human beings. But if they can't see that, if they can't see that the very control that they're actually exerting to try and help their kids is actually killing their kids, meaning as in, that's like, they can't let go of the control. They love their kids. How can they let go of control? It'd be irresponsible. So responsibility, it's love. It comes from love. And, it's like, and if you don't know how to do it better, then the very least people try and do is try and control it so things don't get worse. So, and understanding this dynamic, I feel like is really important because then otherwise we're gonna always try and not care instead of actually care more deeply. And when you care more deeply, then ironically, it allows you to let go of the outcome because you're too busy caring deeply. So you don't have enough faculty to try and look at the outcome. It's like,
That's
thank
the
goodness.
higher leverage.
Yeah, it's a higher leverage. It's a higher leverage. It's like, it's like the advantage that comes from not having enough faculty or capacity, to focus on multiple things. We're kind of only really focus really on one thing properly. And so if we focus on love and that happiness that comes from just that space of being authentic, where we're let go because we're in an authentic space because we're allowing ourselves to kind of notice what we'd be like if there were no external stressors. If you bring yourself to that space and you can see what you would feel like if there were, then you're in your authentic space. It's not that you're ignoring what's going on in the outside world. It's more like you're relaying to the outside world from your most authentic self. Instead of conforming to the stress or what you perceive to be the stress of the world. And we typically give ourselves up because we believe that we're not effective enough. We believe that our happiness is not effective enough. We believe that just us in our natural state is not effective enough. And then we see all the adults who are all so serious, being responsible. And there's a big number of us who are like that. And I think that's not a bad thing because responsibility is more fundamental. It's about common care. Responsibility is love for the world. Responsibility is what brings us meaning, as I was saying earlier. So, and you can't let go until you know that being happy is the most responsible thing you can do. But you try and tell that and convince that to someone. That's gonna be a tough thing. Try and convince someone that while the family member is dying, that you should be in your natural state, actually experiencing your openness, love, and happiness. See how that's gonna go. It's difficult. It's very difficult to see this. I think that's actually the challenge, if you will, of humanity and human potential. It's the kind of conceptually somehow we can see it, but practically, like when it's right up our nose and we're faced with it. It's like, I feel like it's like a subject actually that requires a lot of compassion and contemplation, because the answer is actually that we need to be in our natural state, in our full compassion. Because from that place, real compassion can come out and it can really bring a lot of healing. Because most of the illnesses that we go through and the sicknesses that we have comes from trying to be responsible for each other, and which is a beautiful thing. But ironically, it causes so much forcing and tension that we become imbalanced from it and sick. And to understand that at its foundation, to like be able to really see clearly, so that we don't have any doubt about it. That I feel like requires. That's actually what the study is. I feel that's what the study of spirituality is. To be able to see it so clearly that you can choose your authentic self and the happiness without doubt, and then be able to appropriately respond to the world from that place with compassion, not callousness of just being happy when someone else is just suffering miserably. Not like that. We don't see the Dalai Lama doing something like that. But he's open and he's compassionate and he's relaxed. So, okay, hopefully that insight and clarity into that, what we've been calling the happy space this morning, which is really just a version of tapping into love that's universal.
Yeah, that was beautiful and just really helpful context to fill out the experience and like have some direction for next steps. So thank you, Master Kim. Bowing to you.
You're welcome. Bowing back. Yeah. Anyone, I say that because for anyone, who is on this path and starts experiencing what you just experienced, this becomes a solution, and then the world becomes the enemy. And I don't want that to happen in our school. I don't want the world to be. It's like, and then everyone who does this actually says hoping for the world to be different, and then that creates more tension instead of having compassion for the world, and then doing what we can to actually just allow more people to be in this place more often than not. And so I think, I know that I'm actually talking about this because as we start tapping into it, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to tap into this. Some people go an entire lifetime never knowing what this is. It's a privilege. It's like we got lucky. Just, it's just really just luck. And to just have compassion for the world instead of wondering, why isn't the world like this? I feel like it's really important. The world is like that because there's love. And we're constantly looking for a better solution. And I believe that genuinely that one day that this will be of the common knowledge. But it's going to take some time. These kind of technologies, meditation, has creeped into the world a lot more than it ever has. Now it's actually making it spread through happiness and productivity. And there's a lot of flack from, the traditionalists of saying how compartmentalized that is and how lacking it is in its realizing its full potential. And I'm thinking that's definitely true. But I'm really glad for its penetration. And it's kind of like, I think people call it the gateway drug or something like that. It's like the gateway, it's like the gateway happiness. And just get started. And the people who go there, they realize it's just not enough. I come across a lot of people like that. They started for productivity, and it's like, it's just not enough. And so it brings you deeper. So anyways, okay. So thank you for sharing that. It's really beautiful.
Thank you so
Feel
much,
like we
Dr.
did.
Kim, for all the teachings.
Welcome. I feel like we brought a little bit more peace into the world today. A little bit less,
Yay.
yeah, a little bit less division, right? Hopefully whoever listens to this will be like, oh yeah, that's good. Okay, very good. Okay, I have just enough time for me, like one short sharing or one more sharing or comment or question. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say or ask? Good. Okay, very good. Well, you all have just a fantastic day of cultivating and being in your happy space, being in space and light.
Thank you, Master Kim.
Welcome.
Thank you, Master Kim.
Welcome. Bye.